Normally at this time, we get the pleasure of with Dana, the CEO of Hemlane. She is unfortunately traveling this morning, but great news. We've got Caesar here from Hemlane, who's actually a brand new landlord. So we could talk about the whole getting started and all of that, how he's using Hemlane to help new landlords. Caesar, thanks for stepping in, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, Michael, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, tell the audience, let's tell the audience about your story, right? You did mention pre-roll that you're a brand new landlord. So what's going on there?
Yeah, definitely. It's more of like an accidental landlord story where my wife and I we had our very nice townhome out here in Los Angeles, and we've been interested in getting some more space. So we went into like a few different open houses, put a few very low end offers in. And we're okay, like this is never going to happen. And lo and behold, the place that we really like actually hit, and they took our offer. And
Ah,
things expedited, and we started moving into the new place. And then at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get ready to rent this place out. Like we're not in a place where we want to sell it. That's not really what we want to do. Makes a ton of sense from a rent perspective. We bought that place in 2020. So we locked in right around like a 2.5% interest rate. You don't really want to let that go.
good
um,
for you. Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just been kind of like a learning process for me, no matter, being at Hemlane and like knowing the ins and outs of the product and how everything works within the Hemlane platform is one thing. But like when you're actually applying it and your finances are on the line, it's a little bit different. It's
Yeah.
definitely a little bit different, right? Like you're not going through things from like a product perspective. Now you're going through things from like a landlord perspective,
Yeah.
and you want to make sure that there's good return on your investment. So
Yeah.
that's been a bit of a journey for my wife and I, from
Yeah.
like the turnaround service in the sense of like
Yeah.
how do we get this place ready and whatnot and ready for a tenant and showing it for a tenant. Luckily,
Yeah.
we were able to lean into Hemlane pretty aggressively. So it's been really, our North Star for us. So eternally grateful for
Yeah.
having access to the
Well,
platform.
we're going to break that down a lot here in details, but I'd be remiss if we didn't poke at that deal you just got done. You talked about low offers. I often call those disrespectful offers. So, is that what we're talking about here? Did you get away, Caesar, with a disrespectful offer?
I think we did. I think we did. The seller was in a rush to get rid of the asset, wanted nothing to do with it.
I just hate to
Given
hear
the
that. I just hate to hear that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
terrible.
and the place needed a lot of work, a lot of deferred maintenance that they really did not want to deal with when the asset was handed over to them. And we thought the bones are great. There would definitely be, a lot of renovation costs associated. And we're like, hey, we like the place, we like the neighborhood. What the heck? Let's make an
Yeah.
offer.
So it sounds like you bought the worst house on the best block. Kind of feels that way.
Yeah, essentially, right? The house
All right.
has had one owner since early, no, not early, 1970. It was actually the model home in the neighborhood, and it kind of maybe hasn't had it been touched since the 1970s. So that's the kind of shape that it was
So it sounds like mom and dad lived in it. Sounds like, given your kind of comments, they passed away, went on to their kids, and their kids sold it. Am I putting that together correctly?
in. You hit the nail on the head. Is
Yeah.
that is exactly what happened.
All right. So I'm always curious. So they listed at what, and you bought it at what?
Okay. Okay. A little personal, but I'll
Oh, you
divulge
can
it.
give me round numbers. Round
So
numbers.
they listed it at 2.3,
Okay.
and we bought it at 1.75.
Dude, that's 20%. That does go in the disrespectful bucket. So I applaud all of that. Now, of course, you've got a year or so of renovations ahead, probably lots of projects.
Yes,
All good. Okay. So that's enough about the purchase because I'm always pushing people to take a shot. Take a shot.
absolutely,
You just don't know.
absolutely. What do you have to
Yeah.
lose?
Yeah. They say no. Oh my gosh. I'm heartbroken. You don't die. You don't die writing disrespectful offers. So kudos to you and your wife
Exactly.
for executing. So, all right. So now you have this condo, townhouse. I forgot already.
Townhome.
Townhome. Okay. Now you have this townhome. You lived there a long time. You just locked in this deal. You're like, honey, we want to keep it. We got a 2.5. I've done some cash. So I guess the first thing you did in Hem Lane probably is you looked at what you think you could rent it for, because that's a service that Hem Lanes provide. Is that fair to assume?
Oh, absolutely. Got all the rental comps in the area, just understood like who the competitors were in the market. While we were living in it,
Hmm.
put it up for rent and we started showing it. And my approach there was like, okay, like we have all the comps data and whatnot. Let's see if we can price this a little bit higher. Just from like, how we have it staged and whatnot. That didn't work out. We had,
You
and I'll
took a
tell you
shot.
why. I'll tell you why though. We had a lot of interest, but there is an HOA there, and they do not
Mm.
allow dogs. Um,
Ah,
and everyone that was coming by and was interested, even at the higher price point, they were really interested in it. They all had dogs.
yeah,
So
pets.
that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just, yeah, that was just unfortunate. I got a
Damn
bunch of,
LA. I've actually never heard of an HOA saying no dogs. I'm sure it happens a lot,
oh,
but I've never seen one. Wow.
they
That's
are
great.
they are a quite the strict HOA there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, so that has more of a persistent issue there.
Sure.
But just having like all that data and access to it from the Hemline perspective and seeing like essentially like literally everyone in the vicinity what they're
Yeah.
pricing their rentals out, amazing.
Yeah. So again, a new landlord coming in wanting. So again, I'm just trying to paint a vision for how a new client could use Hem Lane early. You're looking at a property to buy. You could go in and look at what other rentals are. You get the kind of rent validation of what's possible. So I love that. The other thing you probably did is I know Hem Lane spends a lot of time and money on what I'll just genericize as the resource tab, right? Staying up to date with landlord law by state, by city, by county. And as a new landlord, you probably consumed a lot of data in the resource tab. And I'm going to guess you say LA, that is also LA County. Is that right?
Yes. Hmm.
Dude, I got to tell you, I wouldn't be a landlord in LA County, but that's just me.
Uh, yeah. So I'm really glad you brought that up because that's exactly what I did. And I did want to mention that. So, I'm measure twice, cut once type of individual. And going in and like, just doing my due diligence, even before we decided to start, let's put this thing on the market for rent. I was like, wow, you don't really have laws here as a landlord to protect you. I'm like, okay, I can't do this, I can't say this, I can't, across the board. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, well, this is going to be a journey and a half to get across
Yeah.
the finish line. But you're absolutely right. It is a tricky market to navigate in terms of being a landlord in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But those
But
those resources have been phenomenal.
yeah, the resource tab. And again, that's free, folks. You go to hemlane.com resource tab. You can spend hours consuming information there. All right. So now you're in it. You already talked about advertising it. Again, one of the things I know Hemlane offers is the kind of put in it once and advertise a plenty, 30, 35, whatever it is, rental sites. Um, curious how that was once you kind of bring the rent down to more market. Once you realize not having dogs is a problem. Just
Hmm.
how was the volume what was like the volume of showings to applications? 50-50
So,
or
yeah, just about right around 50-50. So just taking it one step back and going back into like the advertising side of the platform. The amazing part is that we offer the advertising that's totally free. You can
yeah,
come list your
free,
asset
free,
and have
free,
free,
free. Yeah.
yeah, across all major premium websites, right? And just one of my wife and I's like greater joys when we first listed the townhome for rent was essentially getting the notifications that Homelane sends you by email and SMS that you have a new prospective tenant, new prospective tenant,
Bing,
and
bing,
we
bing,
we
bing, bing.
exactly. That was just like, oh, this is great. This is great. This means that we're going to make future money here. This is phenomenal. I love it. Love to see it. And then since we had some run-ins or issues with quite a few folks having dogs, and I mean the listing very clearly said no pets,
People don't
and I
read.
can't
They don't
tell
read past the
no
first line.
no I can't tell you how many people I got message like sob stories about like, hey, blah blah. I was like, listen, I love dogs. Dogs are not a
Yeah.
problem for me. They're a problem for the HOA. If it were up to me, I
Yeah.
bring your dog. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Um, but we ended up upgrading to the premium listing service that Hemlane offers, and man, I thought we were getting a ton of leads just from the free listing service, and we were, but the amount of leads that came in once we paid for the premium listing service was just amplified, and it was just
Mm,
awesome, awesome to see.
very, very cool. So, how many applications did you kind of process review before you found that tenant that said yes, and you said yes too?
Um, I think we were like somewhere around like the 12 to 10 to 12 range,
Okay, that's
right around there. Yeah,
there you
and
go.
I mean, yeah, yeah, LA's an interesting market because like there's so many different,
Mhm.
the economy in LA, like there's so many different like diversity in the job sector in
Yep.
the sense where it's like you had one person that was like a physician, a lawyer, right? Like all over kind of like the spectrum there that I was like, okay, like these are like, awesome applications to go through, but just to see like how many like different
Yeah.
types of folks are like moving there was pretty cool.
Very cool. I didn't ask earlier. Was the townhome like a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, or what are we talking?
Two bed, 2.5 bath.
And did it have a garage?
It had two parking stations,
Okay,
no
so
garage. Yeah,
carport kind of. Okay.
carport, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very cool. So the other thing that you probably did, at least I don't know this, I'm not handy. I just assume everybody's not handy. You probably also leveraged Himlade's platform for kind of bringing in subcontractors, the painter, the carpet, the whatever. Did you use leverage Himlane to do all the make ready?
I can't tell you how critical that was, considering that um, when we first started to look for contractors, just Googling them and how many of them are actual scam artists is
Yeah.
unbelievable. So just having that reassurance of the entire repair coordination network like at our fingertips,
Yeah.
invaluable and awesome to have. And it's like you're literally calling or talking to people that have already been pre-vetted for you that are going to get the job done, and you have price quotes in front of you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, what else can you ask for there?
I've always thought that repair coordination is an amazing, I'll call it feature. I don't know what else to call it, that Himlanes provides. Because again, you are getting sourced and vetted and folks that have done multiple projects or multiple tasks, as opposed to going to Google or Thumbnail or whatever these other applications are. You
And
just don't know.
absolutely, and you're not even the one doing the vetting. The vetting's already been
Yeah.
done for you. Like
Yeah.
everything's being handed to you like on a silver platter, which is just awesome. I will say that previous to using Hemlane, like I just one small story, maybe about like a year and a half ago, we had like a repair. This is before I knew about Hemlane. So essentially, we had like a washer dryer issue. We had someone come take a look at it, complete scam. We
Mhm.
found them on Google, and like that moment, like going into things like in terms of like okay, cool. Now I'm going to be a landlord, and I got to find people. Like, did give me a little bit anxiety, but like just getting into the process with like how Hemlane handles things, like immediately subsided my anxiety. And
Yeah.
common thread here is there's a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. No, being the first time landlord, certainly an accidental landlord, you're choosing to move on and keep your asset because of the 2.5%, which I think there's going to be a lot of accidental landlords over the next two to
Yeah.
5 years because that mortgage is the asset. Um, I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of walk through this. So now you find an app, you say yes, they say yes, they probably have a move-in date. You got to get a lease. You got to get a lease signed. I'm guessing Himlane was helpful there as well.
Oh, completely streamlined process. Like you don't skip a beat on Hemline. It's end to end. So just phenomenal, easy resource to use.
Very cool. And I'm guessing at this point the tenant's already moved in. Have you had a chance to collect rent and do all of that at this point?
They have not. October 1st is
Oh,
when they're
just
moving.
around the
Because
corner.
we just moved out last month.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
But you got a tenant, they're inked, they're signed, they're moving in October 1st. And you'll be using Hemlane to collect rent, communicate with the tenants, give you the audit trail. As a brand new landlord, the thing that always got me in the beginning was the audit trail. In the beginning, I
Yeah.
started just so long ago, everything was email and photocopies. And yes, fax. I had fax back in the day. So yes, realize that Hemlane's going to be that audit trail. The financial reports will be amazing. You just hand those to your accountant. Um, any other thoughts on Hemlane, and where can people go get the trial, get the free version that's available? Where can we send them?
Yeah, I mean, you could just go right on headline.com, and you can click the get started for free button, and that'll take you to the entire onboarding process. And things will be broken down for you for things you may or may not need pretty immediately. But my advice is go once you're on the platform, like just take a minute to kind of like familiarize yourself with everything because there are so many rich features and services that we provide that quite a few folks like will usually just like, I love this feature, I love this feature, I love this feature, and they get stuck into that feature in itself. And like that's the prime reason that they're on the platform.
That's like
And then
that's
they'll
like
discover,
10% of it. Yeah.
yeah, and then they discover it's like, oh my God, you guys do this and you guys do that. And it's like this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, folks, go to hemlane.com, start for free. Do let them know you came from one rental at a time because Dana is giving you guys the largest discount out there, 20% on your first year. Caesar, thanks for stepping in. Dana, safe travel, and we'll talk to her next week. Thanks.
Of course, Michael. Thank you for having me.